Hey, what's up guys, Soldier Knows Best here. So a few years ago, I picked up this. This is the original DJI Osmo. So this has a 4K camera on a gimbal for stabilized footage. It also has a bracket here where you can place your phone. So I really liked using this thing, but recently DJI has released something that's just gonna make this obsolete, and that is the DJI Osmo Pocket. And just look at that size difference between these two. It's really crazy to see how far they've come in just a few years. And so this Osmo Pocket has a 4K camera that is on a 3-axis gimbal. So that means it'll be able to kind of float around as you move around with it. So that's gonna result in very smooth footage. So anyway, this is my review of this new Osmo Pocket. I'm gonna tell you why I really like using this thing, but also to some things that could definitely be improved in the next version. So let's jump right into it. First is starting off with the best thing that this thing has going for it, and that's its size, because it's kind of that camera where it's the perfect size where I just take it with me everywhere, because I can just throw it in my pocket or throw it in my bag and it's not going to take up that much space. And then also I like the fact that it doesn't look like you're walking around with the camera. I mean, it does look weird walking around with this thing and people are going to look at you, but they may think you have a device that's testing the air quality or something like that. They don't expect it to be a camera. So the size makes it convenient, because sometimes you may want to record something but you don't want to look like you're recording, and sometimes you want to make people still feel comfortable and not have like a phone just pointing at them. So this is so small that even though they may see you using it, they may not know what you're doing, so it can kind of be easier to use for that. And yeah, it's just the perfect size. But sometimes the size does hurt it, and that's one of those cases when you look at the controls for this device. So let's take a look at that. And so on the left hand side you have the record button, and then on the right hand side you have one button that's kind of multi-use, because you tap and hold on it to turn the Osmo Pocket on, and then you can just tap it once to be able to switch between taking a photo or video, and then you double tap it to recenter the gimbal, and then you can triple tap it to rotate the camera back towards you. So if you're trying to go into selfie mode, you just triple tap it, and then you triple tap it again to turn the camera away from you. And so there is nothing wrong with these two buttons. I just wish that DJI added the thumbstick that they use with their other Osmo products to this Pocket, and so that will allow me to be able to control the camera with way more control and make it easier, because the only way now that you can actually move the camera using this Pocket is to actually do it on the display. So it has a little slider on the right hand side that you can slide up and down that will move the camera up and down, but you have no left and right control. And so if they added that thumbstick, that would make that a lot better, and especially for people who have fat big thumbs like I do, and when I'm using the on-screen slider, I'm just covering up probably half of the display, so I really can't see when I'm recording. So that would be a big addition to add in the second version of this Osmo Pocket. So that issue is more of a symptom of the display being really small, but I will give DJI credit because they've made the software to run on this small display be very intuitive, very easy to use, and you're going to be doing a lot of swiping and tapping, but I never found myself accidentally tapping on things or turning on things just because the display is really small. So the software is definitely a big plus with it. But if you don't like using a small display, you can connect this Osmo Pocket to your smartphone. And so in the box, they only include two adapters. One is going to be for USB-C smartphones, and one is going to be for Lightning phones or just iPhones. And they don't include one for micro USB, but you can get an adapter off of Amazon if you wanted to be able to have that work with your micro USB phone. And so to use the adapters, they just slide onto the body of the Osmo Pocket at this connecting point, and then now you're able to just plug your phone in, and now you can download and launch the DJI Mimo app. But now do take a look at the connection between the Pocket and the phone, and it doesn't look that sturdy because it's not, because you only have that connector going into the port of your phone to help support it. So you really have to hold this with two hands when you are using it this way. So I wish that DJI did include some type of bracket inside of the box if you wanted to more securely attach your phone to the Pocket. And so now that you have your Osmo Pocket connected to your smartphone, you have a bigger display to be able to monitor what you're recording. And also that issue that I had before with trying to control the gimbal and using that small tiny display, that is totally gone now, because you do have a dedicated joystick on the phone display, so you can be able to move that up and down. And within this app, you do have access to more pro settings and pro controls to be able to make this camera function the way you want it to. But in a recent software update, DJI has made it possible to just control those different manual settings on the Pocket itself, and you don't have to connect it with your phone anymore. But for me, I don't use the pro mode at all. The way I personally use this device is to take it out of its carrying case and then go ahead and record when I'm recording, and then put it back in its case, and then put it back in my pocket. And that's the way I think this really shines, because it's super easy, super simple to use. And you can see by this footage, the 4K video looks amazing, and it's going to be better than what most smartphones can get you. And I think that's where this kind of device is going to be targeting people who want to take a lot of video on the go, but they don't really like what they're getting from the current smartphone. And so you can take 4K video at 100 megabit per second bit rate up to 60 frames per second, but all the video I'm showing you has been shot at 30 frames per second. Now also do note that this doesn't have any internal storage, but it will support a micro SD card up to 256 gigabytes, and it has a slot on the left hand side where you'll put that in. And so ever since I've had this thing, I've been filling up my micro SD card all the time because it's just fun to shoot with this, and the quality is there. Like, it's 4K video that looks great, and no matter if you're just driving in the car, you're walking down a road, or you're walking past something interesting, I just always want to kind of take this thing out and record it. And as you can see here, it takes some really nice video. And so recently I was flying into New York and I took out my iPhone XS Max and also the Osmo Pocket. And so this is what the iPhone saw while I was recording the landing sequence, and this is what the Osmo Pocket saw. And you can see there's a big difference in stabilization. And so really it's just no comparison. It's not that the iPhone is really bad, it's just that it's just bad compared to the Osmo Pocket. And for this example, I took the Google Pixel 3 and the Osmo Pocket, and I was driving over some cobblestone, and you can see the difference in stabilization between these two devices. And so hands down, the Osmo Pocket is going to outperform your smartphone. But I will say the Pocket can be better with stabilization just with the up and down movement, which is a symptom with a lot of different gimbals. And so with the original Osmo, they had this Z-axis attachment that compensated for that up and down movement, but it made the device even bigger and more clumsier to handle. But I don't see them doing that with the Osmo Pocket, but hopefully in the software they can hopefully find some way to compensate for that. But it's still not that bad. Even for this case, when I'm walking in snow, I was still able to get super smooth footage for the most part, but I did alter the way I walked a little bit. So do be aware of that. All right, so what about low light performance with this? Well, sometimes it can be hit and miss, where sometimes I don't want to use the footage, it's way too grainy, and then other times it actually turns out pretty well. It's going to be kind of a test case whether or not you can actually use the footage that you get with it, especially with people like me who just use it mostly in auto mode. But for the most part, I would say that I'm okay with it, but I'm not going to rely on it any more than I would rely on any smartphone that I have for low light video. All right, so now let's talk about the built-in microphone. So I decided to test this outside where a lot of people, especially people who like to vlog or want to use it, and my eyes are watering here because it's pretty cold out here in St. Louis. But I will say that the microphone quality is not that bad, but unfortunately you can't hook up any type of external microphone just right out the box with that. You will need to buy some extra attachments to be able to do that, but just the regular microphone I think is okay for what it is. And something else to know is that the field of view is only around 80 degrees, so it's really not that wide. So I do find myself, especially when I'm using it in selfie mode, I have to really extend my arm out to really have my big head in the image, but also to be able to have some of the background to really show what I'm doing. So for selfies, it does work well. I just wish that that field of view and just the focal length was just a little bit better to compensate for people who like to take selfies and do vlogging and stuff like that. And so this camera can also track different subjects or people or just faces using their active track mode. So for me, I'm just going to double tap on my face. And so now the camera is going to move around and follow me, just like so. And so this is great just trying to keep that subject in focus, but also too, if you're gonna just kind of set this thing down somewhere and track you running around with your kids, it works great for that. Oh, and real quick, let's talk about battery life, because this is rated to get you about 140 minutes worth when you're recording with 1080p video, but I actually just been recording in 4K and I was able to get close to 2 hours, maybe right under that. And that's with me turning the device on and off and then recording sometimes for a minute or recording sometimes for 4 minutes. The battery life was good. I think for how I probably normally use it outside of this review would just be kind of quick shots here and there. I see the battery lasting me all day with no problem. And this also does have a USB Type-C port on the bottom, so you can use it with a portable charger if you wanted to keep this thing kind of topped off while you're on the go. And so yeah, I really like this camera. It's very fun to use. And as I mentioned before, the size is a great selling point for it, but that also can be part of the reason why I do have a couple of issues with it. And another thing to note is that I've just been showing you how this operates by itself. There are a bunch of different accessories that are going to be coming out for this Osmo Pocket that give you more functionality, but this also going to cost you more money. So I think this starting at $350 is not a bad price point, especially compared to probably its biggest competitor, which is going to be GoPro. But having to buy those extra accessories to be able to hook up a microphone to this, to be able to mount it on a tripod, or to have more physical controls does hurt it a little bit, because now you just see more money coming out your pocket. So no pun intended. But for me, I'm just fine using this Osmo Pocket by itself, but I will be covering some of those other accessories in another videos. And so my final thoughts is that I love this camera. I'm glad that I purchased it, and I think a lot of people will. But if you do find yourself not really sold on it just yet, I have a strong feeling that the version 2 will be coming out maybe in another year or so, and I think that will probably be the one where people will be all on board. But for right now, if you're looking to just get better video that you can take with your smartphone in a package that is as easy to take around with you as your smartphone, this is a great choice for that. And hopefully with software updates and other things in the future that will help make it better, and maybe some of the prices of the accessories will come down a little bit, I can see this camera being a tool that a lot of people will want to have in their bag. So yeah, this thing is going to be coming everywhere with me. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out for yourself, but I do want to thank you for watching my review of this DJI Osmo Pocket. Leave your comment down below what you think about this device. Make sure you subscribe to me here on YouTube, and like always, I do want to thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you later. Peace.